My husband told me I was losing my mind. The truth? He was trying to erase me. My name is Julia. I'm 45. And this is the story of how I found out the man I trusted most was trying to rewrite my reality. I always thought I had a good memory. Not photographic or anything, but decent enough. I mean, I could always remember birthdays, appointments, random facts from conversations, the usual. But a few months ago, I started noticing little things slipping away. I'd go into the kitchen and forget what I came for. I'd reread the same email 3 times and still not process it. At first, I blamed stress. Work was intense. Our daughter Lily was applying to colleges, and Eric, my husband, had just left his job to figure things out, which basically meant I was covering everything financially. One evening, I was sitting in the living room, trying to remember where I'd put my car keys. I'd looked everywhere. Eric walked in, arms crossed, and said with this weird calm tone, "You've been forgetting things a lot lately, Julia. Maybe we should talk to someone." I kind of laughed it off. "I'm just tired," I said. He didn't laugh. He kept watching me like I was some fragile object. That night, I found the keys in the fridge. The fridge of all places. I didn't tell him. Over the next few weeks, it got worse. Or maybe it just seemed worse. I couldn't tell anymore. I'd misplace things, forget plans. Eric kept a notebook of every time I messed up. At first, I thought he was trying to help, but then it started to feel accusatory. Like he wanted to prove I was losing it. Then one day, he sat me down at the kitchen table with this printed paper in his hands. A medical document. "You've been diagnosed with early-onset Alzheimer's," he said softly. The doctor confirmed it. I stared at the page like it was written in another language. My ears were ringing. "What doctor? When?" "You remember, Dr. Kellerman. You saw her last month." I didn't remember seeing any doctor. I mean, maybe I had? I was so foggy. And that terrified me. Eric held my hand and said we'd get through it. That he'd take care of me. He started small, taking away my car keys. Then my debit cards. Eventually, even my phone. "It's just for your safety," he'd say. "You don't always know what you're doing anymore." And the worst part? I believed him. Because how can you argue when you can't even trust your own memory? After that night, everything started to shift. Eric became overly helpful, controlling, but under the disguise of love. He insisted on managing all our finances, just until things settle, he said. I remember trying to log into our joint account one afternoon and realizing the password had been changed. When I asked him, he looked at me with a soft, condescending smile. "Sweetheart, we talked about this. Remember? You asked me to take care of it because it was stressing you out." I didn't remember that. But maybe I had said it? I mean, I was forgetting a lot lately. One morning, I walked into the bathroom and saw a pill bottle on the counter with my name on it. I'd never seen it before. "What's this?" I asked. "Dr. Kellerman prescribed it," Eric said casually, brushing his teeth. "It's for memory support, helps stabilize things." God, I didn't even remember seeing this Dr. Kellerman. And yet the label had my name. My birth date. It looked official. Still, something in me twisted. I picked up the bottle, turned it over, and the instructions were in tiny print. I blinked. I was about to look it up, but my phone wasn't where I'd left it. That was the first time I truly panicked. I started tearing through drawers, my purse, coat pockets. I couldn't find it. Eric walked in with a bowl of oatmeal. "What's going on?" "My phone, it's gone. I left it charging right here last night." "Oh, that," he said, placing the bowl down. "You left it outside yesterday. In the garden. It was wet. I had to dry it off, might be fried." The garden? I hadn't even been outside. But again, maybe I had? I was losing all sense of trust. Not just in him. In myself. That afternoon, I stayed on the couch while he ran errands. The house was quiet, and I just stared out the window, trying to piece together the last few weeks. My head ached. My hands were shaking. So, I did something small, something instinctive. I checked the trash can. And there it was. My phone. Shoved deep underneath coffee grounds and paper towels. Still working. I remember whispering to myself, no. No, no, no. Because that meant one thing. He hadn't been helping me. He was isolating me. But why? That night, I pretended to sleep while Eric watched TV. I held my phone under the blanket and Googled Dr. Kellerman. There was no Dr. Kellerman practicing in our area. Not in the city. Not in the state. My heart dropped to my stomach. And I'm asking you, if someone you loved, someone you trusted with your life, started twisting your reality like that, what would you do? Would you even know how to fight back? My hands were still shaking when I poured my tea the next morning. I had barely touched my pillow, instead sitting on the edge of my bed all night with a blanket wrapped around me, listening to the silence of the house. Every sound, the fridge humming, the floor creaking, made my heart race. Eric acted like everything was perfectly normal. He made scrambled eggs, humming to himself, like we were just another couple enjoying a lazy Sunday. He even asked if I wanted to go on a walk after breakfast. I forced a smile and told him I had errands to run. "You sure you'll be okay out there?" he asked. "Yeah," I replied, grabbing my keys. "I remember where the grocery store is." I drove straight to the library instead. I hadn't been there in months, maybe longer. But the second I stepped inside, the smell of old books, the hush in the air, it all felt like a small piece of my old self waiting patiently for me to come back. I found a quiet table in the back and pulled out my phone. I typed in the name of the pill he'd given me. No prescription results. No medical articles. Just a bunch of herbal supplement websites. My fingers trembled as I scrolled. Then I tried the number on the pill bottle. Nothing. No clinic. No neurologist's office. It wasn't even a valid phone number format. He had faked the label. Faked the diagnosis. He'd been lying to me on purpose. That realization, it wasn't just painful. It was violent. Like being thrown off balance in your own mind. I texted my sister, Megan. We hadn't spoken in weeks. Eric said she was overwhelmed with work, that she didn't have the energy to handle me. But when I messaged her, "Can I call you?" she replied within seconds. "Yes, please. Are you okay?" When I heard her voice, I actually started sobbing. I couldn't even speak for the first minute. And then I told her everything. She was silent for a moment. Then she said, "Wait. Eric told me that you didn't want to talk. He said you were embarrassed about forgetting stuff." "Megan, I thought I was losing my mind," I whispered. "I thought I had Alzheimer's." Her voice cracked. "Julia, this is abuse." That word echoed through my chest. And I realized that's exactly what this was. Abuse wrapped in concern. Control masked as protection. A prison built from lies and pity. Megan wanted me to come stay with her. She even offered to drive over right away. But I said no. "I need to be smart," I told her. "I need to catch him in his own trap." Because if Eric had lied about this, what else had he manipulated? Have you ever had someone twist the truth so slowly, so gently, that by the time you realize it, you've already started doubting your own mind? Tell me honestly, would you have run right then? Or stayed and found the proof? The weirdest thing was how normal everything seemed after that call with Megan. I mean, he was still acting normal. Like nothing had changed. He even brought me a cinnamon roll from that bakery on Main, the one he knew I used to love. He set it on the table and kissed my cheek like we were fine. Like I was still fooled. I couldn't even look at him. Later that day, while he was out walking the dog, I went into his office. It's funny, I hadn't stepped inside there in years. He always said it was his space, and honestly, I respected that. But now I needed answers. The desk drawer wasn't locked. That surprised me. I thought I'd have to pick it open with a bobby pin or something. But no, he must have thought I'd never check. Or maybe he didn't think I was capable anymore. Inside, I found a manila folder with my name scribbled across the front. Just seeing my name in his handwriting made my stomach twist. Inside were notes, dates, even a little chart he'd drawn. Memory lapses, emotional instability, frequent confusion. It was like he was keeping evidence of something that wasn't even real. There were even emails he'd printed them out from some neurologist friend he'd apparently gone to college with. They talked about how it might be possible I was showing early signs of decline, but nothing was certain. And then, in the margins, Eric had written, "Amplify concerns. Increase dependence. I swear to God. My hands were trembling. I dropped the papers on the floor and had to sit on the edge of his leather office chair, trying to remember how to breathe. And then I found it, the receipt. It was from a novelty website. One of those places that sells fake medical labels and prank documents. The same place he must have gotten the pill bottle label from. That was it. That was all the confirmation I needed. But here's where it gets complicated. I didn't know what to do with it all. I mean, I had proof, but proof of what? Psychological manipulation? Emotional abuse? That's not exactly the kind of thing you can bring to the police and expect an arrest. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I made an appointment with a therapist. Not for couples counseling, for me. Her name was Dr. Lowell. Soft voice, warm smile, the kind of woman who made you feel like crying just by looking at you. After our first session, she looked me dead in the eyes and said, "Julia, what you're experiencing is coercive control. It's a form of abuse, and it's very real." I nodded, but inside I was crumbling. She asked if I had somewhere safe to go. And the truth was, I didn't know. My sister had offered, yes, but Eric would find me there. He always found me. So I told her I needed time. Time to think, to plan, to protect myself. Looking back now, I wish I had packed a bag and walked straight out the front door that day. But when you've been under someone's thumb for years, your brain doesn't just flip a switch. Have you ever known something was wrong but still couldn't move? Because fear? It's not just in your bones. It's in your choices. Your silences. After that session with Dr. Lowell, I started noticing things I'd brushed off for years. Like how Eric always had to know where I was, always. I used to think it was sweet. He just worries, I'd say. But now where are you? Text felt like a checkpoint. Every time I was 5 minutes late from the grocery store, he'd greet me with that fake worried smile, saying, I was starting to think something happened. You know how forgetful you get? That line? It started eating at me. Because I wasn't forgetful. Not really. Sure, I misplaced my keys or left the oven on once or twice, but who doesn't? He made me doubt every little thing. And once you start questioning your own memory, your own mind, you start shrinking. Quietly. One morning, I was making coffee. Same as always, 2 spoons of hazelnut creamer, just how I like it. Eric came down, looked at my cup, and tilted his head. Did you already have coffee this morning? No. You told me earlier you did. I hadn't. I knew I hadn't. But for a second, just a second, I felt like maybe I had. And that's when I realized this was his power. Not yelling, not hitting, but bending my reality until it no longer felt like mine. That same week, I took a walk alone. Left my phone at home. I just needed air. Space. Sanity. I ended up at the park near my old high school. There's this bench under a huge oak tree, and I sat there for what must have been an hour, just watching kids ride their bikes and moms chasing toddlers with juice boxes. Normal. Peaceful. And then I saw her. A woman, probably around my age, with a stern expression and a confident walk. She reminded me of someone I used to be. Or maybe someone I still could be. She was wearing a t-shirt that said, "Strong women raise strong women." I don't know why that hit me so hard, but I cried. Right there on the park bench. Not the loud, dramatic kind of crying. Just quiet tears that rolled down because I didn't know what strength looked like anymore. And maybe seeing her made me realize how far I'd drifted. That night, I started writing things down. Every weird moment. Every lie. Every manipulation. I created a journal, locked it in a kitchen drawer, and titled the first page, "For When I Forget Who I Am." Because I was tired of being rewritten by someone else's narrative. I was done letting him shape my story. But here's where it got even darker. Eric must have found the journal. One day I came home from a short grocery run and the drawer was open. The journal was gone. I froze. My heart started pounding in my ears. I didn't even put the milk away. I just stood in the kitchen, staring at that empty drawer like it had swallowed a piece of me. And then he appeared behind me. Calm. Smiling. Looking for something? That smile, it chilled me. I didn't answer him right away. I couldn't. My throat felt tight, like the words were trying to crawl back down. I just stared at him, then at the drawer, then back at him. He leaned against the counter casually, swirling the ice cubes in his glass like we were just two people having a harmless chat. You shouldn't keep secrets from me, Jules. It's not healthy. Not for someone in your condition. God, I wanted to scream. But I couldn't risk it. Not when he already thought, or wanted me to believe, I was unstable. I forced my voice to stay steady. Where's the journal? Oh, that silly thing? He smirked. I threw it out. It was full of confusion. You don't need that in your life. He threw out my truth. My anchor. I went upstairs and locked the bathroom door. Not because I was afraid he'd hurt me, not physically at least, but because I needed space to think without his voice in my ear. I stared at myself in the mirror. Bloodshot eyes. Pale lips. Hair that hadn't been washed in 2 days. I didn't recognize her. Who are you? I whispered. What happened to you? And then something wild popped into my head. What if I really was losing my mind? I mean, what if everything he said was true? What if I'd made all of this up in my head, like a story? Something to justify my unease? I know how that sounds. But when someone repeats a lie enough times, even you start to doubt the truth. And maybe you've been there too, standing in your kitchen, holding a loaf of bread or your car keys or whatever, wondering if you're slowly unraveling. Have you ever felt that pit in your stomach when you realize you might be the only one who sees what's happening? That feeling like you're screaming, but no one hears you? Because that's where I was. I tried reaching out to Melissa, my sister. We hadn't been close in years, but I texted her. Hey, I might need to talk. Can we grab lunch? She replied 3 hours later. Everything okay? I started typing, then deleted it. Typed again. Deleted again. How do you tell someone you're scared of your husband when he hasn't done anything visible? I just said, yeah, just feeling weird lately. Miss you. She sent back a heart emoji. That was it. I put my phone face down. Eric came in an hour later, tossed his keys on the counter, and said, talk to anyone today? It was casual. Too casual. I lied. Nope. Just stayed home. Took a nap. He nodded and went upstairs. I heard the shower run. And suddenly I realized I couldn't keep lying to myself anymore. He was watching me, monitoring my mind like it was a project he was managing. And I had 2 choices. Play along and slowly disappear. Or fight back and risk everything. The next morning, actually it was more like 3 a.m. and I hadn't slept a wink. I just sat at the edge of the bed in my robe, clutching a mug of chamomile tea that had long gone cold. Eric was snoring lightly beside me. His phone was face down on the nightstand. I stared at it for a while. God, I knew I shouldn't. But I did. I picked it up. The passcode was still the same. His mother's birthday. He never changed it. Not because he trusted me, but because he never thought I'd look. And there it was. Text messages. Emails. Voice notes. Conversations with a psychiatrist, someone named Dr. Halpern. They'd been discussing her mental decline and justifying care decisions. But I'd never met this doctor. I'd never even heard of him before. There were files. Attachments. One was a fake patient report. I opened it and my heart just dropped. It said I'd been experiencing paranoia, memory gaps, even aggression toward my husband. None of that was true. It was a lie. All of it. Fabricated. And suddenly I remembered something. 2 weeks ago, Eric had come home late from a work dinner. I'd been asleep on the couch. When I woke up, I had a weird headache. And there was this taste, bitter, metallic, in my mouth. What if? No. That's crazy. Or is it? I backed out of the phone and placed it exactly where it had been. I couldn't breathe. My hands were shaking. I knew I had to get out. But I had to be smart. So I started making a plan. That morning, like real morning, sunlight and everything, I acted normal. I made coffee. I even hummed while cooking eggs, just like I used to when we first moved in. He liked that. He commented on it. You seem more yourself today, Jules. God, I wanted to throw the frying pan at him. Instead, I smiled. Yeah, I think the meds are helping. He looked so pleased with himself. Like he was winning. While he was in the shower, I grabbed my laptop. I emailed the real Dr. Halpern. Turns out, yes, she existed, but she hadn't seen me. Ever. Not once. I attached a screenshot of the message Eric sent from her email. She responded later that day. I've never evaluated you. That email wasn't written by me. You need to go to the police. But I couldn't. Not yet. I needed more. Something they couldn't brush off. So I did something I never thought I'd do. I called Melissa again. I didn't just text, I called. Mel, please. Can I come stay with you? Just for a night. There was a pause. Then, are you okay? And this time, I didn't lie. No, I'm not. That night, I packed a small bag. Just enough to not raise suspicion. He asked, "Where you off to?" I smiled. Melissa's. Just for dinner. He raised an eyebrow but didn't argue. Be back by 10. You know how disoriented you get at night. Disoriented. Right. I walked out that door knowing I wasn't coming back. Melissa opened the door, and for the first time in a long while, someone looked at me, not like a patient, not like a fragile woman losing her mind. Just me, Julia. She didn't ask anything right away. She just pulled me in and said, "You don't have to say anything until you're ready." I broke down in her arms. That night, we sat in her kitchen, sipping wine, and I told her everything. Eric's lie about the diagnosis, the fake doctor, the memory gaps, the paranoia he tried to plant in me. At one point, I stopped talking and looked at her. Do you believe me? She didn't even blink. Of course I do. Julia, this is abuse. You know that, right? And hearing her say it out loud, something inside me shifted. Like I finally had permission to stop second-guessing myself. The next morning, we drove to the police station together. I had my screenshots, emails, the psychiatrist's written denial, everything. I told them everything Eric had done, how he fabricated medical documents to control me, isolate me, discredit me. It wasn't easy. The officer kept giving me that look, half disbelief, half pity. But I stayed calm. Clear. I was finally thinking clearly again. A detective took interest. He asked me for more details. Melissa vouched for me. That helped. A lot. They opened an investigation. I also called a lawyer. Melissa recommended hers. A fierce woman named Carla who didn't flinch when I told her everything. He messed with the wrong woman, she said. Weeks passed. I stayed with Melissa while the case moved forward. The silence in her apartment felt different from the silence in my house. It wasn't oppressive. It was safe. One afternoon, Carla called. You'll be pleased to know the state's pressing charges. Forgery. Fraud. Attempted coercion. I didn't cry. I didn't laugh. I just breathed. I filed for divorce the next day. Eric tried to call. Of course he did. He left voicemails, some angry, some pleading. You misunderstood. I was trying to help you. Come home, Jules. But I never responded. I got my own apartment 2 months later. It was small, barely furnished. But it was mine. No one gaslighting me. No one trying to rewrite my reality. One day, I passed by a mirror while brushing my teeth and did a double take. My eyes looked different, clearer, sharper. I didn't realize how foggy everything had been until it was gone. I started volunteering with a local women's shelter after that, helping women who went through emotional abuse, manipulation, isolation, things that don't leave bruises but break you all the same. A younger woman named Tara came in one evening, shaking, barely speaking. She reminded me of me. I sat beside her and said, "You're not crazy. You're not alone." She looked at me like those words were the first warm thing she'd felt in months. And I thought, maybe that's the point of surviving. Not just to save yourself, but to reach back and help the next one climb out. I don't know what Eric's doing now. I don't care. But me? I'm here. I'm grounded. I'm healing. And I'm never letting anyone tell me who I am ever again. If you've walked through your own storms and came out stronger, or if you're still fighting, you're not alone. Subscribe to hear more stories from women like us, women who refuse to stay down.